We're about to start.
We are live, back with a Tuesday edition of Your Wildest Fantasy Football Show.
Oh, yeah.
Should we fill them in on? I feel like tensions are going to continue to run high for the rest of the show, and I feel like it only makes sense for us to.
You're more hot-headed right now than I am. I am just completely fine, but Kondo's upset. So I'll let you tell him what happened, Kondo.
So there's a couple layers to this. I was in a couple trade talks yesterday, one of which, none were set in stone, but things were trending in what seemed to be a possible or good progression towards happening. One of the trades involved me getting Alvin Kamara and somebody else and Chris Godwin, and then trading Chris Godwin and Joe Mixon in a deal for Najee Harris. So in this league, I would have had, again, if everything was to go right, Najee Harris, Zeke, and Alvin Kamara. I also...
And Cooper Kupp on your...
Yes, and Cooper Kupp. Also, very clearly important to state, I have a love for Najee Harris that we've talked about on the show several times, including yesterday. Don't really need to get into that too much. I want to make this story as concise as possible. I told Cody, I want to get specific wording up here if possible. There was a lot of discussion after this occurred that's going to make this harder to find. But I said I might be doing something insane, could be trading Mixon, Henderson, and Ridley for Kamara and Najee. And he said, insane. I said, fingers crossed. What would someone say fingers crossed if a deal had already happened?
I assumed fingers crossed, they stay healthy. That's kind of what I
Okay, that's absolutely bullshit.
It's not.
Yes, it is. Okay, I'm not even lying at this point. I get you're trying to make a joke, but it's not funny. It's just not
hilarious.
No, it's not. It's not funny. And
unreal.
Within seconds, Cody offers what could be. It's not like that. I mean, it's a gross trade for you. I don't want you to get to think that it was a good trade for you or that it was an okay trade. It was not in your favor. But it wasn't a deal that I would say is too. It's not like a Najee for Zach Moss or Devin Singletary or something like that gross. He traded Damian Williams. This is going to be hard to follow because there's a lot of Williams. Damian Williams and Darrell Williams.
There you go.
Who are both starting right now for the Bears and the Chiefs respectively, while David Montgomery and CEH are out, for Myles Gaskin, and who notably sucks. I think that's pretty fair to say. We talked about it yesterday. I'm pretty sure we both mentioned that, Myles Gaskin sucks. Right. And Jamal Williams, who you brought up yesterday and said he kind of sucks now. And you traded for those guys.
Correct.
And then the person was like, yeah, I just got 2 good running backs. I no longer need to do your trade. So, yeah, I mean, number one, just a bad trade. I don't pretty clearly.
So I'm going to talk now since you just talked.
Well, I didn't. I want to finish. Just give me 10 seconds. Number one, bad trade. Number two, took my information that I was about to make a deal, and then was like, oh yeah, let me go ruin that real quick.
I don't know.
That's more of the part that I'm discouraged about. And now there's been a whole another layer to the story that I can get into, but you go. I will let you talk.
Montgomery will be sidelined for at least 3 weeks. That was the last known report on October 9th. It is now October 19th. So a week. So maybe 2 games left. David Montgomery out. Damian Williams was inactive. Could have COVID. We don't know. If it's COVID,
it would be it's 1 week. I mean, and nobody's missed more than like 1 week.
Right, but you don't know how it's affecting him. And Khalil Herbert.
That's so bad.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Who's been out for more than 1 week with COVID? Then tell me who it's.
No idea. People die from COVID.
Well, I'm talking about in football. In football, how it hasn't had a big, a long-lasting impact. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to cut that loose or say anything bad about that, but
I mean, tested positive on Thursday, so we have to wait till Thursday, a week, and then see if is actually affected by it. Khalil Herbert had a great game. We talked about that yesterday. Almost 20 points from the. So Damian Williams no longer the dominant number one backup.
I mean, he wasn't in the first week, and he still got 15 points.
Right, and Khalil Herbert came out, got almost 20. So anyway.
Well, I mean, you're taking 16 points, right?
What?
You're taking 16 points, right?
You're taking it, yeah. You're happy with it. But like I'm saying, Dave Montgomery's come back soon. Damian Williams has a very limited time on the shelf right now to be moved before he's just a hopeful handcuff.
Okay.
And thank you. And if we go look at Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he will miss more time, obviously. So Darrell Williams will have a longer period of being the starter. But then when CEH is back, it's going to be CEH's show. So
we'll see.
I mean, more than likely, they like CEH. Been there. He likes it. Everyone likes him. Great guy. Great locker room personality. So Darrell Williams also has a limited shelf life right now. Both of these people are able to switch for 2 running backs who are Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams is a backup. Actually, pretty similar situation to what you explained with Darrell Williams, right? As the season's progressed.
I mean, did he though? DeAndre Swift was the starter week 1, and they both had a great game.
But he hasn't had. He had one great game, and then he had against Baltimore. He had 14.7. Sorry, this is half point PPR, but 14.7 with a touchdown, and then hasn't had double digits in any other game this year.
Right. But still, nice handcuff.
No, there's no still.
He's not even he wasn't the guy. I'm just saying he was the first name to pop up. And then Myles Gaskin, who is the number 1 on his team.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Okay. I mean, he's the only one on his team inside the top 69 as terms of running backs.
But we're seeing him lose. You bring up how guys lose touches
right
all the time. You talked about Joe Mixon getting less carries.
Okay.
This guy is actually losing. He's split half the snaps, or had the same amount of snaps as Malcolm Brown.
Right. And as I've said previously on this show, very consistently, some people don't need that many touches to be great. He got 15 touches against Tampa Bay, got 31 points, 32 almost.
That's 1 game.
Okay. 1 game can win you the week. That's literally all you need. You need a guy with upside potential. And he is the guy who is getting the work. He is the guy, Malcolm Brown, he hasn't had a point in double digits yet. Salvin Ahmed, which you're so concerned about, hasn't had a game above 5 points. And I'm saying, getting a starter for 2 people who have a limited shelf life is a fantastic opportunity. I do not see where trade.
I don't see how he's a starter when he's splitting reps as much as he is. And then too,
is Nick Chubb the starter?
He's not splitting that many reps. He's not splitting. He's not in a situation where he's not getting the majority of the reps. And also, I would say Kareem Hunt is very different level of player than Malcolm Brown. I think you would agree with that.
I don't disagree with it. I think Kareem Hunt better guy than Malcolm Brown, but I am showing you how there is
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like that both of those guys are better than Myles Gaskin by a long shot.
Well, I mean, the Browns also are like set to run the ball. Like they run the ball in insane amount of times. So yes, those guys are going to get way more opportunity, way more touches than the Dolphins. But
Myles Gaskin has only had one game with double digit carries.
Okay, great. How many games has Cordell Patterson had double digit carries, Kondo?
I can look that up.
Thank you, please.
Cordell Patterson also
only has one.
Only has produced a little bit.
Double digit carries. So
yeah, but what? Okay, but so what is the difference on the point difference there? Like Cordell Patterson, you said guy who can produce with limited touches. Cordell Patterson has produced. Myles Gaskin has not.
Myles Gaskin is 10 spots behind Cordell Patterson right now. So if Cordell Patterson has been producing, which is what you just said, and someone's 10 spots behind him, fantastic. I don't hate the trade.
And he's coasting off of 1 week. I think that's the big thing, too.
How many times do you need a guy to have one good week? One good week could win you your league.
I don't want to, but he's going to lose you your league or your week more than he's going to win you your week.
But having backups who are not going to play are guaranteed to lose you your week. When CH is healthy, Williams isn't going to play. When Montgomery is healthy, the other Williams is not going to be getting you 15-point weeks. Myles Gaskin is the number one guy back there as far as fantasy options are concerned. He's the one who's going to get you the points. You have talking me into the trade more and more. The more I have to defend it, and I love it because
you can make a bad trade. I'm fine with you doing it.
Clearly not. You vetoed it. So
okay. So let's go into this. There's a long dispute of. I don't think we need to go into this, but I now have to defend myself. I did not veto it. It was vetoed the first time. In which I was pretty vocal. I think it's dumb that you would veto a trade. This kind of gets into the discussion of when to veto a trade.
I don't think that this was a veto.
I agree. And that's why I didn't veto it the first time. But the second time, it was announced that if it was vetoed once again.
By you?
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm a man of I love entertaining the people. And that's kind of what I live for, obviously. And that's pretty much what I've been put on this planet to do. So it was announced by the commissioner, who happens to be me, that if the trade was vetoed again, we would have a trial to decide. Everybody, the people who were at the helm of vetoing the trade, will be able to share their statements. The people who made the trade will be able to share their statements, and the commissioner will make the decision. Just how it happens to be me. I disagree with the trade, but I said, the first thing that I said when it got vetoed, first thing that I think anybody said was, just because I was pissed about it doesn't mean I think as long as you two both wanted to do it, it's fine. But I just want to see a trial. And who doesn't?
I guess.
Who doesn't enjoy a good trial?
Hey, it's all right.
It's more than all right. It's glorious. This has turned into from an awful thing to now a great thing.
I think just in full disclosure, I might have vetoed your trades just because you would have had a big four of Zeke, Najee, Kamara, and Cooper Kupp.
Well, that's bad though. That's what I'm saying. It's that's so. Where do you? I think this, just to make this conversation somewhat purposeful for people watching. What is your opinion on vetoing trades? Because I think what you just said is not what my opinion is.
So my team is last in my division. The team I am trading with is one step above me. I have the first waiver pick again for like 5 weeks in a row. He has a top 2 waiver pick. I think he was like top 3 a couple weeks. So both of our teams are very bad. Having trades get vetoed down here doesn't make any sense.
I think that's what I don't think is fair.
Yeah, I think it is because
I don't think it should matter on like where a team is. I don't think it should matter on. I think it should matter on whether both people want to do the trade. As long as both people want to do the trade, and it's not like Najee. I mean, I'm giving up pieces. It's not like I wasn't giving up anybody. I was giving up
Joe Mixon, Henderson.
I was giving up in the first deal for Kamara. I would be giving up Henderson and Ridley for Kamara and Godwin, which I think is a fair deal. And then I would be giving up Godwin and Mixon for Najee, which is a fair deal. Like, I don't think it's a bad, like, I'm not here to defend my trades. But I just think I'm talking more openly about like veto in general. I don't think it should depend on what team or where they are or like it's going to overload them. I think that was the problem here is everyone's like afraid of the person that you traded those guys to.
Look at record. I think you have to consider record. I don't like vetoing trades, but I think if you're the number 1 guy in your division and your team's already stacked, I think that's where people are like, why does this guy need to get Kamara?
I don't think that should matter.
But I don't like that. I'm not saying you have to veto it every time, but I'm saying like that's the only time that I would look at it is like, oh man, Condo's 6-0. And
let's go crumble his season. So I think that kind of leans into the trade, like why you did me dirty.
I would want to be crumbling your season if you're already 6-0. Like if you're 6-0, did you dirty? That stinks to be you, Rendon.
No, he did me. Oh, you did me dirty.
That stinks.
I agree, Rendon. I just thought I could trust my confidant and friend of my co-host with this valuable information. But like we discussed off air, we said, now we just know who he is. It's okay. It's okay.
It happens.
Those situations, those like high pressure situations, sometimes true colors come out. And I'm not sure what color corresponds with just turning your back on a good friend, but it would be that color. That is Cody's true color.
Oh, can we pull up the 4th comment that this guy just made?
I feel hurt.
That'd be great.
This one?
Nope, that's 3rd.
Nick Chubb ain't playing.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. Neither is Kareem Hunt, though, so I don't know.
What's that matter?
I don't know. Don't know why. saying Nick Chubb isn't playing. It's a huge deal, but
I think it is for waivers.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like people already picked up Felton. Like, he got a lot of movement activity already. Like last week when the 2 of them were already.
I mean, like, well, we'll talk more about waivers. He's rostered in 4.7% of leagues. So there has been movement, though. He was rostered in 0.8 before. So
right.
There has been some movement. Enough for our personal drama. We know you guys care about us. We don't know that, and you probably shouldn't.
No, not.
But if you were looking to check in, on what was going on with us, there's certainly some drama in the household. Will we ever get over it?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I know Trudge is like no one else. I love it. Absolutely.
I normally don't, but when it's something as just spiteful and I think like just blatantly disrespectful as disrespecting my fantasy just dominance, I think that's when. And I play Cody in 2 weeks, and I'm going to destroy. I texted him and said, I cannot wait to destroy your team with Myles Gaskin in the starting lineup. And I just want you to know, last thing I'm going to say, if you don't start Myles Gaskin that week, you're scared.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Let's talk about probably what people are here to hear about.
Monday Night Football.
That is last night's game between the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans.
Nice.
I know, weird finish. Buffalo, 4th and inches, tried to run it with Josh Allen when they could have kicked the field goal. Did not end up getting it because Taylor Lewan was out at left tackle for the Buffalo Bills. That was really the big thing that got in their way there. And yeah, I mean, another dominant night for Derrick Henry. He's
unbelievable, man.
Just by far and away the best fantasy asset in regardless of league, which is crazy. Obviously not what we expected for Derrick Henry to just be a monster, as much of a monster as he has been in like PPR leagues even, but it's crazy. I mean, he's just that good.
He looked phenomenal last night. Just Buffalo came in like one of, if not the best defenses going in. Very, very good defense minimum. And he tore him up, dude. It was beautiful to watch, if I'm being honest. I got a little worried. 98 on the Bills did manhandle Derrick Henry a couple times in the first quarter. And I said, oh no, is Derrick human? And then Derrick just decides to run it for 76 yards. So that answered my question, that he's a beast among men back there. Absolutely beautiful. Great win from him too.
Yeah, we saw some other guys kind of step out, and I guess if you want to call a breakout, you can call it a breakout. But I mean, AJ Brown, kind of, I guess, what would you say? Would you say like this is trending towards something good, or just like, okay, he needs to prove it more? 7 for 91 on 9 targets, 16.1 fantasy points in full point PPR.
I think it's encouraging. AJ Brown has had 2,000-yard seasons. To see him struggle with injuries like he has been like kind of tough. But then like the first 2 games he wasn't injured, and he had a combined 21 points. So like wasn't looking good. I think this is a nice like bounce back game, sort of. Like it's trending in the right direction. Like the first time Saquon had a good game this year, I think that's like the same feeling you're kind of getting with AJ Brown. Like, oh man, like he was getting targeted, most targeted guy, almost doubled, Julio 9 to 5, so almost double. I think that was encouraging to see as far as like a AJ Brown truther. He is going to be. I think he's going to get his legs underneath him and really start to go.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to ever bench Antonio or AJ Brown, and I guess it's also hard to bench Antonio Brown, but it's hard to bench AJ Brown. I don't know if people did last week or not. I don't think I would blame you depending on who else you have, but I think you have to play him going forward.
Right.
I'm not sure if you feel great about it, but I think you just have to because of the upside, especially them playing Kansas City next week, and then they play Indy. So decent schedule ahead. I think better things are to come from AJ Brown.
Right.
Also, I don't know if we can call this a breakout, but Stephon Diggs had his best week of the season with 23.9 fantasy points, 9 catches for 89 yards, and a touchdown on 11 targets. He's wide receiver 35 right now. I'm not worried about that at all. And I think like you look at the touchdowns, he had 1 touchdown coming into this game, had 2 at the end of it. Kind of crazy stat they kept talking about was Trayvon Diggs has the same amount of touchdowns as Stephon Diggs. I don't think that's going to last for much longer. If you can buy low on Diggs, you do, but like I don't think anybody's going to do that, especially after this game.
Right. I mean, Stefon Diggs hasn't been super disappointing. I guess like where you got him, he has been not super, but like kind of disappointing. But the man only has one game underneath 10 points. So like I get it. Like obviously he was drafted like either late first, early second round. So like this isn't where you expect him to be. But if you still held on to Stefon Diggs, like good days are coming. There's here, but like it's just gonna get better as the season progresses. Very happy with Stefon Diggs.
Agree. I'm never panicking on Stefon Diggs. A couple injury things to cover from this game. I think probably the biggest one for fantasy implications is the Dawson Knox one.
Right.
He broke a bone in his hand, expected to miss a few weeks. Not expected to be season ending. I don't know what that means for severity. I was going to throw a guess out there, but I'm not a doctor. You should probably throw a guess out there, seeing as how you got the David Montgomery thing right.
Right. Dawson Knox, I mean, it's a broken – I don't know what it was, though. I think it was just a
broken bone is all I heard.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. Depending on what it is, and, I mean, that could be anywhere from, a month on, maybe, depending on how, like, slow they want to play it. And it's not like they don't have weapons already. Like, obviously, Stefon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, and two capable running backs in Singletary and ROS. They can afford to let Dawson Knox sit. But fantasy owners feel like he's going to be out maybe 3 to 5 weeks, probably, just at a minimum. Just so, like, it's a broken bone. Like, you don't want the guy out there
with a broken bone.
Right. Like, that's just not smart anything. Like, you don't want to, I don't know. You don't want to do a lot of things with a broken bone, much less contact sport against 300-pound human beings. So,
I would agree. Also, another injury from this game, kind of just a sad one, is Julio re-aggravated his hamstring. I don't know what's going to happen with Julio, but he's been kind of one of the most disappointing draft picks. I know I have him in one league, and it's bad. I mean, it's pretty bad right now for Julio owners.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of shares of Julio this year. Has been disappointing. I was kind of hoping for the Julio of old, but now I just have old Julio, so it is what it is. He's already been ruled out for rest, so
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on IR.
I don't know if he'll go on IR, but I definitely am like expecting him to be out for probably like at least 2 weeks for sure. They're playing Kansas City. I just don't like. They're gonna need him, but I don't think they put him out there just because he's not a distraction at this point. Like, he's really not. Like, he's more of a distraction for his own offense than he is for the other team. I mean, he has one really good week so far this year, and then the rest have just been complete duds. So, I don't know. I think you just rest him.
Yeah, it's kind of. Do you trade like Julio for even like a low grade, like a Hunter Renfrow or something like that?
I mean, if you can, sure. I mean, like
Renfro's coming off a bad week.
Renfrow is coming off a bad week, but like Renfrow also is doing pretty well this year. So I don't know. Julio really hasn't proven himself yet. I guess it's like for people who are holding out that like Julio will return to normal, then sure. But
agree. Yeah, it's just the name value of Julio right now. So if you can get anything for that, I would tend to agree. Unless you are like you drafted Cooper Kupp later, or you drafted some like Mike Williams, and you're just sitting pretty with wide receivers right now and can afford to wait on him and don't have any other injuries. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's pretty bleak for Julio Jones owners.
It is it's a little scary.
On to waivers. Waivers this week are weird.
Yeah, this was.
I'm gonna try to give like priority of guys, but I also do not Necessarily, no. I feel like it's more of a personal choice than it is one person over the other and like what you need. So it's a little bit harder to put these guys in order. You say that you have positional stuff though, and
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it every week. That I get at least one person from quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Now throwing a defense and kicker, just for all you weekly streamers out there. Just try to keep it helpful for every position.
cool. Do you want to go into your quarterbacks while I make my banners for my players?
Sure, I don't see that. So this week, kind of bare bones as far as quarterbacks. You're gonna get this like all the rest of the season. Just with people having bye weeks, everything's gonna be a little bit down. For quarterback, I put Teddy Bridgewater as someone who I'd consider targeting. He's playing Cleveland on Thursday, so like you kind of gotta, if you're going with Teddy, you're stuck with him, good or bad. But it's a Thursday night game against Cleveland, currently ranking 30th against the quarterback, I guess. He's rostered in 20% of leagues, so like very, very much out there. And I think he could give you a decent game. Him and Carson Wentz are two people who I was looking at because Carson Wentz is playing San Francisco. Carson Wentz has not been ruled as injured yet, but the week is still young, so we never know with Carson how he'll handle walking around or driving a car. So fingers crossed for Teddy and Carson. Those are the two guys I'd consider this week if you're streaming quarterback.
Cool. Getting into, I think, the running back discussion, that's where I have most of my guys.
Okay.
I think there's a couple wide receivers here to look at, but it's so tough with these running backs. We don't really know what to expect with a lot of them, but there is some value depending on who you pick here and how the cards play out. And I think that's kind of the thing. There's just so many unknowns in how the cards are going to play out for a lot of these guys. If you need a guy for this week, I think you're obviously going with Ernest Johnson. He's going to be probably the main guy. He's slated to get the start. The interesting discussion goes to what value is he going to bring after when Nick Chubb presumably comes back in week 8. If they play week 8, they might have a bye week, but they don't have and that's kind of what I'm unsure with for Ernest Johnson, to the point of, if I have a number 1 waiver pick and I don't need a guy this week, I might not take Ernest Johnson, because we saw him and player you mentioned earlier in Demetric Felton, a player that we mentioned last week that we thought was going to get more work. They kind of split snaps. I'm not sure that Demetric Felton got a rush attempt, though, or he may have just gotten one.
So Felton has yet to rush the ball in a Browns uniform. He is legitimately just a passing back with 0 rushing upside.
I don't know.
I think, well, all right. I mean, me and you have the same amount of professional NFL carries as this man this year, through 6 games, healthy through all of them. So he's listed as running back, but I mean, he's getting like 2 or 3 targets a game, and 1 week it paid off for him. The rest, it's just been duds. But
he's also been the 4th.
Right, but and with a healthy Nick Chubb and a healthy Kareem Hunt. Last week, when Nick Chubb was out, Kareem Hunt got 69% of the snaps. Felton and Johnson both got 20% with 12 downs apiece. I think Ernest Johnson is going to be the rusher, but I think as far as PPR is concerned, Demetric Felton might see his first NFL carry this year. But they're playing a Denver defense, so I think Felton has the more upside either way, just because he seems to be the pass catching back, and Denver is pretty good against the rush this year. So I don't hate it to go pick up Demetric Felton, but
yeah, Demetric Felton is my number 5 on priority. I think D'Ernest Johnson, again, it depends. I would say like 1 or 2, depending on if you need a guy this week. I think he is my favorite, and he caught a pass last week, so I think he does have some pass catching upside. I just wouldn't be surprised as far, even if they did go 50-50 between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I just think D'Ernest Johnson might be maybe even the more favorable at the goal line. But again, like there's so much uncertainty. I don't think you're gonna, and that's kind of what scares me for D'Ernest Johnson as saying he's my number 1 waiver pick by far, is that I feel like even when Nick Chubb comes back, they're going to split these guys pretty evenly. And I don't think that it's going to be, I haven't seen enough from them to know like how they're going to step up in it. I just know that Cleveland has done a good job running the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Nick and Kareem Hunt do split a lot of the time, close to like 50-40 or 60-40, 50-50 some weeks. But that's because Kareem Hunt is a starting caliber running back for almost every team. So I don't think D'Ernest Johnson and Felton have had like the yet to if they are or aren't. So I don't like. I'm still a little hesitant about how much they're going to have beyond this week when Chubb does come back. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Like if you pick one of these up, you're more than likely to pick them up for a week or two, and then like you're going to have to drop them or hold on to them. I don't. These are two guys. If you pick either of them up, you're not going to hold them season long. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to. I mean, you could see one of them having filling in that Kareem Hunt role and being serviceable. I'm not saying living up to the Kareem Hunt standard, but I'm not sure which one it's going to be, if it is going to be one of them. I think is my take on why I'm not sure if I would take them number 1, but like if I needed somebody this week, of course I would. Another guy I think is important to mention here is Ramondre Stevenson. We saw that he had a good week last week.
Nice.
Kind of worked his way into getting some snaps. We saw that the snaps weren't as just split towards Damian Harris's favor. And we know that New England likes to use few backs in that backfield.
Right.
Damian Harris got 26 snaps,
mm-hmm.
and Ramondre Stevenson had 18. So I think Ramondre Stevenson, this is a guy who could have season-long value. And Damian Harris has got banged up a little bit over the past few weeks. Ramondre Stevenson could definitely take over in that workhorse role. He's big enough. He's strong enough. I think he can handle it. So I like him as a pickup. And then I want to say one other one that might be my top. I don't know if he is or not, but he might be, is Rashad Penny. He's coming off of IR. I mean, they drafted this guy in the first round. We've seen some spurts from him. We haven't seen him put it all together. Carson, I get that he's on IR. It might be temporary, but I think they've seen a lot of injuries from him, enough to be like, even before he was hurt, they kind of split the backfield up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Rashad Penny got involved, especially with the investment they made in him, albeit a while ago, and some of the explosivity that we've seen from him on certain plays.
Yep.
And again, like Chris Carson, there's no guarantee that he's going to be healthy. If anything were to happen, I think Rashad Penny has as much of a chance to win a starting job as anybody who's going to be on waivers for running backs.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. Chris Carson he's out till week 9 when he can come back, but bye week, so week 10 against Green Bay. Alex Collins is a little, banged up with his hip. I mean, sure, Rashad could be an interesting guy. I don't know. We got to. he played very late in the Colts game. So like we haven't seen him. So
you're starting to cut in and out. But yeah, I mean, all these guys are kind of dart throws. I don't think there's anybody that you're like, this is the guy, like a few weeks of the season. Do you have any additional running backs to add to the table?
I had one guy who I thought was like an interesting one, but just Kenneth Gainwell. He's out there. He's kind of, it's closer to 50. He's out there in 55% of leagues. Maybe him. He's come off 2 bad weeks, so I don't know. He's just someone who I like throw out there. He's like a honorable mention. If you're not a big Miles Sanders believer, then maybe believe in Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know. That was all.
I have him on my list too. I think that we've kind of been pounding the drum for adding Gainwell, especially if anything was to happen to Miles Sanders. Just kind of has been the only other guy to get snaps. So
right. He was the only guy that I really had. I didn't put Stevenson from the Patriots on there. He's interesting, but like it's like everyone knows, New England runs by committee, and Damian Harris will either run for -4 yards for you or 100 yards for you. So it's like you never know what they're gonna do back there. But yeah, I mean we're week 6 into the season, so not very many like sure things at this point. So I mean, take a dart throw on one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many more that I had to add. Samaje Perine could be a good handcuff if you have Joe Mixon. Obviously, we mentioned Kenneth Gainwell. Sony Michel's out there in a few leagues. Marlon Mack, just with some of this trade talk, could be a good speculative add and just like, again, could find value if anything were to happen to Jonathan Taylor, Demetric Felton. Devontae Freeman is another one who had the best week of the Baltimore running backs. So he could possibly get more involvement. And JaMychal Hasty is coming off at IR. I think he is an interesting option if you want to get involved in that San Francisco backfield, which I would not greatly recommend.
Don't think you want to, if you can help it, don't do it. Just so congested.
Agree. Moving on to wide receivers.
So I put 3 down, just
3 doors down.
Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Browns, I think is an interesting pick. He had 2 great weeks, or 1 great week, 1 good week, 12 point at 26. Jarvis, was in with his knee. Odell's still a little banged up. He could be in line to see some work. They are playing against Denver's pass game. Their pass game's like middle of the road, so he could have a good week. And for as long as it's a little banged up, he could see some work. I also had Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I said that correctly.
I think that was spectacular. That's one of the more accurate of your pronunciations.
Right. I'm not really good at pronouncing people's names, but he was an interesting guy. Lions are going to have to throw. Obviously, the Lions. Anyone who can catch the ball consistently is someone who you want from the Lions. And, I mean, I think he's the only guy you want as far as the catchers are concerned, or one of the only guys you want, if any. Last guy, T.Y. Hilton. Coming back. T.Y. is a nice guy to add. Still out there in 70% of leagues. T.Y. Hilton's always been like a decent wide receiver as far as fantasy is concerned. Real good wide receiver for real football, but for fantasy, he's always been a good option. I think he's an interesting add this week.
Yeah, I also put T.Y. in my top 5. I just think like he is the number 1 wide receiver for the Colts still. He's the number 1 deep threat when he's healthy. So I'm not like, there's not much more to add to that. I think AJ Green is also someone to look at. It's hard to really feel great about getting caught up, just like getting caught up in the San Francisco backfield, getting caught up in the Arizona wide receivers because of just how many they have. But
I've been banging that drum like
you have been
for most of the week, so that's the only reason I left him off.
Yeah. I think we're both hopping on each other's bandwagon, which might be exactly what we need at this point in time, with Gainwell and AJ Green.
Right.
I mean, he seems to be just like a more likely to get a touchdown than some of the speedsters. I like that upside. He's also had just like some consistency so far. So I think he is a interesting add. Some more guys that I don't think you need to spend a waiver claim on as far as wide receivers. Actually, there's only one. Actually, there is two. Rashad Bateman got 6 targets last week. I think that will continue to grow as, number one, they get in more competitive games. And number two, he just kind of gets acclimated. And then Darius Slayton, I think, could be an interesting add later in the week as we check in on the status of Kenny Golladay. If Kenny Golladay doesn't play, they kind of have two of those underneath speedy wide receivers, Tony and Shepard, but the deep threat, I think a lot of that work would go to Slayton, and we saw that kind of getting split pretty evenly when Slayton and Golladay were on the field. So I think that gives a pretty good opportunity for a guy you don't need to spend a waiver pick on to be a fill-in for the week.
Right. I'm with you. Tight end, again, kind of slim. I had Ricky Seals-Jones, interesting executive add for Washington. And I also had Cole Kmet. They're playing Tampa Bay this week, so it could be an interesting streaming option. Tampa Bay is kind of letting you just pass on them this year, and knowing that their offense is just super powered and will be able to outscore you. So both those guys are interesting ads this week. I wouldn't say you need to spend your top waiver pick on the tight ends or quarterback, maybe wide receiver or running back in full disclosure. But if you're sat at wide receiver running back, then take Ricky Seals-Jones or Cole Kmet for the week, and I think they're both going to have a decent week this week.
Yeah. Another name I want to mention, I know that he's owned in over 50% of leagues, but just in case he's out there, he kind of got screwy with Goddard being out last week. But if Zach Ertz is still out there, prior to last week, he was owned in far less than 50% of leagues. If Zach Ertz is still out there, pick him up for sure. I know that he's out there in a couple leagues of mine, so I would definitely keep that as an option as well.
I'm with you.
And our Twitch stream just went down.
Oh, what? Oh, geez. That's great. Absolutely fantastic.
But we will work in the meantime on another thing for us, which I think should be pretty fun, is our wide receiver rest of the season ranking. You have defenses. Sorry, I got screwed up with this.
It's okay.
We're back on.
Oh, good. Just two defenses to consider are Dolphins and the Falcons this week. They're playing each other. So that could lead to both those defenses just eating. And I think both are owned in very few percent of leagues so far. So if you need a defense, pick a defense that's playing against a team that is not likely to be as explosive as some of the others. And kicker, I like Young Ho Koo. Yeah, Atlanta's kicker. I like him this week just because I think Falcons are going to score more against the Dolphins than some people might think, and I think that they're going to at least be able to march down the field against that defense and get into field goal range and or punch it in and get some point afters. So I like him. I also kind of like Mason Crosby. They're playing Green Bay's playing Washington this week, so they could be eating quite a bit on that side of the ball.
Nice.
Thank you.
Now we're getting into our wide receiver rest of the year rankings.
Oh yeah, baby.
I could also say rest of season rankings. If it was going to be rest of year, it would be ROI. Roy.
Yeah, but this
Roy
is
Williams. Big name receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, I believe. I don't know if that's true. He was the coach of UNC, though.
Nice.
I know that's true. But I think Roy Williams played for the Cowboys back in the day.
Maybe.
He was. There was a safety as well, who also played for the Cowboys. I don't know if the receiver played. The receiver played for the Cowboys as well. Beautiful. So this is really all coming together perfectly.
Right.
Wide receiver rest of the season rankings or Roy rankings. We are going to go just like we did with running backs last week. If you want to see running backs, if you want to see the running backs episode, check out last Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we are going to start off. Last time I was the number one and did the odd choices. Cody did the even choices.
Right.
This week we will go opposites, and I will give you the first pick.
Thank you. This shouldn't be like a super big surprise. I went Tyreek Hill number one. He's number 2 wide receiver right now anyway, but the fact that he is the number 1 on a Kansas City offense by a long shot, so encouraging, and I think that they just get better. I don't think they have as many close games and or losses as they have in the beginning of the season, and I just think Tyreek, he already has been great, like just 137 points through 6 weeks is an insane number. But yeah, I like Tyreek for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it was interesting to me. I think that there's 3 guys at the top that are a pretty clear tier break for me. I made lines underneath each of the tiers, and I have all these 3 guys. I can't really disagree with anybody being 1, 2, or 3. I think an argument could be made for all of them. My number 1 guy, though, who will be number 2 on our list, is Davante Adams.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
I think the big thing for him, I mean, he's wide receiver 3 right now, which is crazy because he only has 2 touchdowns. All the other guys are kind of up there in the 4, 5, 6, 7 range.
Yeah, Tyreek has 5 and Cooper Kupp has 7. So, yeah.
I mean, I just think that Davante Adams is kind of, I mean, we know what he's capable of, and I'm not going to doubt him. I feel like pretty good about just his connection with Aaron Rodgers. We know about that. He's leading the league in targets. I think he's leading the league in catches. So
he is leading in targets, and I believe, yes, and we're tied with Tyreek for receptions, and also Kupp in receptions.
But yeah, I mean, once those touchdowns start coming in, I think he's going to be fine.
Right, I'm with you. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is going to be number 3. He was number 2 on mine. Him and Adams, like you said, they're right next to each other. I don't know. I kind of like Cooper Kupp.
I had the same debate with Kupp and Hill, but
it's so close. Like the 3 of them, like I said, they're like these 3 are going to be 1, 2, 3 at the end of the year. There is no doubt in my mind about it. But yeah, Cooper Kupp, the touchdowns are a little scary. The fact he has so many so far, but I mean, he could very well average a touchdown a game. So who knows how it's going to unfold? And he's looking really nice this year.
Yeah, I mean, just in that offense too, it's hard to not really see. It's hard to not see him keeping it up, but like it's also like, how is he going to keep it up? I mean, if you just look at the man's numbers,
he hasn't had a week below 10 targets. So the reason I put him above Davante Adams, though, is just because Davante has 3 weeks this year with under 10 targets, 9, 7, and 5. So like that was the only reason I put him below him in my rankings. But yeah, it's so close, and he's going to finish as a great wide receiver this year.
Yeah, and I mean, he's put up 30 points in 3 games. It's just craziness. As for number 4, I think this is where it's going to start getting. This one might catch you by surprise. It's a guy that we talked about earlier, a guy who played on Monday night, and it's going to be Stephon Diggs.
Okay, so that's
let's get this party started.
So I want to hear your reasoning for 4 because I had him deeper down. But I want to hear your reasoning.
Well, first off, it's rest of season rankings. We're not doing the first, the beginning of the year rankings. Right. He's one of the top guys in targets, and it's kind of like my argument for Davante Adams as well. Top guy in targets in Buffalo, that is going to pass the ball more than anybody. If you look at his usage in the red zone, his usage has been very high. It just hasn't turned into touchdowns yet. And I think that that's going to happen. I see him finishing the year with I think he can still finish the year with 8 touchdowns or 7 touchdowns or something like that. And I think those are going to have to come at some point. Before last night, he was targeted 12 times in the red zone. So, and obviously that number has gone up a little bit. So I think that he's in for a big second half with that touchdown stability or touchdown upside coming and just the stability that he offers as a week in and week out wide receiver.
I mean, I can't argue with you that Stephon Diggs is going to be a bad wide receiver. He's going to be a really good wide receiver this year. I actually had him between 6 and 8 on my list here. I had 2 people above him for sure. I just think, you can't question Stephon Diggs, but I don't know.
I'm interested in your 5 because I think we might have the same 5.
For our 5, my 4, I guess, is Justin Jefferson.
Yep, we have the same 5.
I put Justin Jefferson above him just because he has 3 more receptions and about 50 plus more yards than Stephon Diggs. I put him above him. And I think Justin Jefferson, there's 3 people, 3 people on the Vikings that everyone on the roster. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and Justin Jefferson just going to so much love this year. There's not real worry about people coming to eat off his plate. He gets his own plate. He's fine. He's gonna do great. That's why I put him up at. I put him at 4 on mine, but I guess 5 right here. But I did have him above Stephon Diggs. So I'll be interested to see how that does play out for the season.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't put Jefferson at 4 is I think the touchdown just upside.
Right.
I do think that Minnesota is going to score a lot of points, but I think there's just more competition in the red zone for him, especially now with Dawson Knox out. Adam Thielen has been a huge touchdown guy throughout his career. Obviously, Dalvin's going to get his. There's just more competition when it comes in close. But again, you're picking straws at that point.
Yeah, it's not. I can't be upset with Stephon over Justin Jefferson, but I feel also just a little bit of Stephon left, so that just might also have been another reason Justin Jefferson hasn't betrayed for his selfish reasons like Stephon has. So this could be a personal thing. You never know.
This, I think, again, this is a pretty big drop off. I would put Diggs and Jefferson in kind of a tier of their own for me. I think that you might be a little different.
Probably.
And I don't think you're going to love my 6th pick, but you might. And it's Deebo Samuel.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is
just looking at that San Francisco offense,
mm-hmm.
like who else did they have? They don't trust Ayuk, Mosanu. I mean, they don't trust. I don't think Elijah Mitchell has proven to be. Well, he hasn't proven to stay on the field yet, and he hasn't proven to be the biggest threat. He's had one good game. He could be something, but we haven't really seen that yet.
Right.
I mean, the guy before, if Kittle was around, I would say maybe push him back a little bit, but he has a 33% target share, which is insane. And I just don't know who's going to eat into that. So I think they're going to have to rely on him and get him the ball in creative ways. So I kind of see him being the number one there or a top wide receiver just because he kind of has to be if San Francisco is going to be something, if they're going to get things rolling on offense.
So Deebo Samuel was my number 9.
That's fine. I think it's very 6 through 10. I think is very much debatable.
I had the guy at 5 who I think is going to be much better rest of season than Deebo Samuel, just because I don't know, Samuel. He's getting the looks, and I get that, but I feel like San Francisco they have a wishy-washy backfield. They have a wishy-washy quarterback situation right now. There's just like a lot of gray, unknown fog around this team, and I think that just like it affected. I think it will affect them a little bit more than I think a couple of these other guys who either have been dealing with the adversity already all year and are still performing, and or just have more of an upside. But I don't hate it at 6. I just put him at 9. Don't hate it. So our number 7 collectively, my number 5 is Jamar Chase.
Interesting. Here we go.
I really like Jamar Chase just because he's not getting as many looks as everyone else. He only has 41 targets on the year, but he has 27 receptions for 553 yards. He is just a deep bomb, explosive play guy, getting not many people have more yards than him, above him, as far as I'm looking. Next person is Justin Jefferson, I think, who has more yards than him. He's just really killing it this year in terms of making the most out of his opportunities. Only three people, Devontae Cooper and Tyreek, have more yards than him this year. He's beating Samuel out on 10 less targets. So I really like Jamar Chase. I think Cincinnati is going to have to pass more going forward. Just Mixon's a little banged up. They might try to cushion him a little bit. Joe Burrow is looking pretty good this year, so they might just let him lean into the pass game more. And I think both those things just really elevate Jamar Chase. I love him.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase is where we differed a little bit. I had him. I didn't make my mind up on 12 yet. I was going to just see where the feeling brought me when the moment came. And he was one of the guys in the running for 12, probably the favorite. I just get scared by the lack of targets on the board, and that's kind of the big thing for me. He's 35. And
I mean, looking at just pure yards alone, the people who beat him out are Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams. Those are the only 3 people who have more yards than him. And he's doing it on 20 less receptions, than all of them. 20 less receptions. He is just so explosive. He doesn't need 10 plus targets a game. The dude can get you 22 points off of 4 catches. So, that's just why I think I put him so much higher than you're going to put a couple people up coming up, and I'm going to absolutely hate them because they don't provide anywhere near the amount of yards that Jamar Chase will, and that's why I put him far above your probably next 2 picks.
I mean, the thing for me, and we know the differences that we have as far as, I think that's probably like our biggest difference when it comes to fantasy football production is, for me, it is one of my big driving factors is volume.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, it is efficiency,
right?
Unless it's Myles Gaskin. But
Myles Gaskin is the 20th ranked running back right now.
But
moderately efficient.
I don't know how efficient he's been. But yeah, I mean, I put a lot of priority on the amount of touches you're going to get. And then to me, if you're going to get that little amount of touches, not in the grand scheme of thing, but like in comparison to these top level guys, the top 10 level guys, I think that he already has 5 touchdowns, and I get scared that number is going to fall off. I get that he's an explosive option and still a wide receiver 1. So in my book, or a fringe wide receiver 1 or elite wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a little bit more scared about the lack of volume there and the other weapons there with how much they run the ball. I'm not worried about Mixon's health that much at this moment. And I think T. Higgins and Boyd will be involved enough to just kind of like keep him away from that top 5-ish upside that I think Jamar Chase has as a player.
He is right now, I believe, 3rd or 4th or 5th points, I believe, with T. Higgins and Boyd playing almost every single game.
T. Higgins missed some time.
All right, he missed 1 game, 2 games? How many?
I think he missed 2 games.
Cincinnati, T. Higgins missed 2 games, Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. And in those games, Jamar Chase, I think, he had 1 good week of 22.5. Second week was back down to earth with 13.7. So, I mean, he didn't utilize them, but he still had.
I am making the discussion or argument for 12 instead of 7, so it's not like that far off. But that's what my worry is with him.
I mean, fair.
As for 8, I'm going to go DJ Moore.
Nice. He was right after Jamar Chase for me.
So I haven't pissed you off yet.
You're going to, with my 13 and 14, you're going to throw them into the top 12. But actually, no, sorry. They're not even 13 and 14. They're like between 13 and 16. But
so the next one is probably where it's going to get dicey, and I am prepared.
Good.
But I mean, DJ Moore, do you just see the target volume that he's getting? He has no less than 5 catches in a game. He has no less than 7 targets in a game. He has 1 bad week, but I just think he has that. He has 3 touchdowns, so I think that he is in a position to score more touchdowns as well. And he's kind of the guy on this offense. He's the clear guy on this offense, especially with CMC out. And I'm not sure that it gets worse with CMC back. He actually performed better when CMC was in the lineup. I think that he is.
But when did CMC not play?
I think that he got hurt in that. When did he get hurt? Houston game?
I'm trying to look.
Dallas game?
Christian McCaffrey played weeks 1, 2, and 3, getting hurt in.
Okay. And he had 31 in the next week. But I still think combined, he played better in the first 3, but I mean, it's probably close.
Week 3, when McCaffrey got injured, he got 20 points. He had 21 the week before, 15 the first week. Then he got 31 the first week CMC was out, 8 points against Philly, and then 10 points against Minnesota.
So I think technically he did, but it's 5 points better. So I'm not going to say anything crazy. I think that the argument that I'm making is that it doesn't really matter when Christian McCaffrey is in or out as to DJ Moore's production. He's just the guy there, and I'm not really worried about him kind of losing that. I think that he's just a very good number 1 clear option with volume and some room for touchdown regression. And that's what puts him here.
Right. I mean, I had Brandon Cooks as DJ Moore as my number 6. Sorry, misreading everything here.
Oh, boy. Brandon Cooks sighting.
DJ Moore, I mean, yeah, he's had 3 20-plus point weeks. Could be interesting. He had one good week with CMC out. CMC should be returning soon. And then teams are going to have to start respecting just otherworldly CMC is. That's going to open up DJ Moore again. It's going to be great. I put him as 6, so right there with you.
Cool.
Number 9, I put Brandon Cooks. Absolutely.
That's good.
So, all right, I'm just going to.
That's a wild one.
Brandon Cooks has 57 targets on the year. Only getting beat out by like 7 or 8 other people. 40 receptions. Only 1 touchdown on the year, though. So those touchdowns are going to come. I mean, if you want to make a bet that Brandon Cooks only has 1 touchdown at the rest of the year.
I'm not sure that he has the huge upside just because it's Houston. But Brandon Cooks also has an interesting part of like, is he going to get traded? Because there's been some talk about that too.
I mean,
which could be good or bad.
Could be. You never know. But I put him as my number 8, I believe. Yeah, my number 8. My number 7, our number 9. I think Brandon Cooks just has big upside. He is the number 1 guy by a long shot in Houston, which is going to have to pass with their iffy backfield. And I think like the volume is there. Clearly 57 targets on the year. 11 plus targets in 3 games this year. Very nice stat to have. And 212 plus weeks so far. So like he gets the looks. He only has 1 touchdown, and I definitely think that changes. I don't think like you can keep a receiver getting this many looks out of the end zone consistently all year. I think he finished like 5, 6 more touchdowns now, so I think that just helps him. I mean, you looked at me like I'm crazy, but I mean,
I don't know that he gets more than like 6 touchdowns.
Jets, Jacksonville, I mean, Arizona, they kind of let you pass in Arizona, so come on. Like, he has opportunities to score, and I think that if rest of the season he's going to get a few really good weeks, then I think that's why I put him up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not crazy, right, which I may have said earlier. I don't think it's like, I think it's a longer shot just with the odds that he has to overcome as far as like being in a Houston offense that we're not sure how well they move the ball and how many touchdowns he's going to score. But I think I'm warming up to it.
I mean, he doesn't have another wide receiver on his team inside the top 88. I don't have the totals pulled up right now about how many more catches, targets he has than everyone else on his team, but I know by a fair margin. I'm going to guess at least 40 plus probably. So that's why I like him. And he's on a team that doesn't have to pass. Like, they have no run game. Well, they have some. Let me rephrase it. They have some run game. They can move the ball on the ground. And especially if Tyrod Taylor comes back, I think it's going to help him just because you're going to have to respect the fact that Tyrod Taylor will just tuck the ball and run it for 5 to 10 yards on you consistently, bringing more people into the box, freeing Brandon Cooks up. I think it helps him. Helps him more than it hurts him, in my opinion.
Interesting. As for 10, I'm going CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that was a good okay.
I mean, I had him outside of the top 12, but it was.
I'm really just doing this, trying to not get an upset Cody at this point in time. I think I'm just trying to like get your validation partially.
I know like who you're thinking. I'd like to know because I don't know. I like to know why CeeDee Lamb is going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver.
So I think one of the big things is you just see the upside and like his power for those explosive weeks like he had last week. I mean, he started off the year with a 23-point week and then last week had the big 36-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
Explosive offense, probably the best offense in football. Just going to have a lot of opportunity in that offense. I get that there's
football.
I think so.
Overtime.
I mean, I think they have been.
Over Tampa Bay, over Arizona, over the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think they have been like
Chargers?
Statistically speaking, I think that's a very fair statement.
I mean, hey, I like to hear your thoughts.
So, like, I mean, they're just a very complete offense, right? They really have a bunch of playmakers, and I think that's the big worry for CeeDee Lamb is that, oh, there's Amari Cooper there. Oh, there's Zeke there. I don't think Amari Cooper is that big of an issue for CeeDee Lamb, especially, again, when we're talking about an offense where if we were talking about maybe a more limited offense,
right,
like a San Francisco, if we wanted to say like, oh, Brandon Ayuk's going to be like Brandon Ayuk last year, then I don't know if Debo would be as high as he is. But I think this Dallas offense can support multiple people because of how much they score, because of how much they're possessing the ball, and they're not having 3-and-outs all the time. They're just kind of keeping drives alive and scoring a lot of points. So increases his upside, and I think just quickly, he has as high of a ceiling as anyone to have those monster weeks, and I think that floor will kind of be more consistent as the season goes, especially after this bye week. I expect them to just get him involved more consistently.
Okay. I mean, so looking at it, Tampa Bay, Chiefs, Raiders, Rams all have more passing yards than the Cowboys. Just why I was at. And none of them have the running potential that it does with or Pollard, even because Pollard is a capable back. So none of those teams have saying running back to have. That's why CeeDee Lamb was kind of outside of my target for me. I talked about Jamar Chase having huge upside, 27 catches, 550 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 33 catches for 497 yards and 4 touchdowns.
But I didn't have CeeDee Lamb at 7.
Right. But I'm just saying, I think as far as upside goes, that's why I put Chase over him. Just less touches, more yards, one more touchdown, which isn't like a huge deal about it. Because 6 points doesn't separate them. It's like 30 at this point. I don't hate it. I mean, it's interesting, but I just think Amari Cooper. I was worried about Amari Cooper too, just like getting his looks. I think Pollard and Zeke both are part of the passing game. So, but yeah, I don't hate it. It's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. I just want to find Dallas is tied with Tampa Bay for touchdowns per game, and they are also first in total yards per game.
Yeah,
the running has
total, but they're 5th in passing, and which is Lamb will get his work not in the hundreds or rushing yards that Derrick.
I get it, but I'm saying that I think moving the ball and being able to move the ball with both, it keeps them on the field more. And then 2 is the touchdowns. And I think that's kind of at this point we're trying to get touchdown. Like we're trying to see the touchdown upside when we're kind of picking straws like this.
Right. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, in games that he didn't get 10 or more targets, he hasn't got 100 yards, so it kind of like limits his upside. He has 2 weeks above double digits, 2 weeks below double digits when he doesn't get that many points. That's just a reason I was like lower on him. He was outside my top 12, but hey, I don't hate on it. It's interesting. worthy of the conversation. Anything else you want to say about CeeDee Lamb before we move on? I put DK Metcalf at number 10 for me, 11 for us, I guess. I think DK is going to come into it. I think Tyler Lockett kind of ran the show the first 2 weeks, but now DK is like, all right, you had your time to shine. I'm going to play football now. And he's put up, like every other week, it seems to be a 20-point week for him. So I think it's just going to continue. And like we talked about earlier, the running back situation is a little skeptical in Carolina just with some injuries right now. So they're going to have to fight through that for a couple weeks. I think that just helps DK. Also, Russell Wilson, lost a finger, RIP. And Geno just kind of throws it to DK and looks for him a lot. So all those things combined, that's why I put DK inside my top 10. I think there's upside with DK too, but I like him. Like him as an option.
Yeah, I had him as my number 10 as well. I just think if you want a guy who is going to catch a bunch of touchdowns, look no further than DK Metcalf. So that's about it for the DK discussion, I would say. Let's wrap up this list. Let's wrap up the show with Mike Williams. I think he has been probably most notably the guy that's fallen the most from what what would be their current ranking. I believe that he is 4.
He's still 4
right now. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at just kind of his numbers so far, obviously puts him high enough to warrant that.
Right.
But also has 6 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
You have Keenan Allen involved. I think that this is a good offense, like a very good offense, but I don't know if it is the likes of Tampa Bay or Rams or or I'm forgetting one, or Dallas going forward. I think that Keenan Allen is going to come on a little bit later in the year, or maybe not later in the year, but sooner than later. I think they're going to try to find out ways to get him the ball and get him more involved. I still think Mike Williams is going to be a very good player. I just think that it's going to be the touchdowns that come down, and maybe he only gets 4 touchdowns the rest of the way. Still finish the year with 10 touchdowns, still be a top 12 wide receiver 1, but limits his upside the rest of the season.
Yeah. I had Mike Williams outside the top 12 for me. Mainly because if the weeks he doesn't score a touchdown, he got you 2 points and 4 points. So
okay, but we have to say.
But I'm saying that's why I kept him out. The other weeks that he has 2 touchdowns, 36, 2 touchdowns, 33, 1 touchdown, 22, 22. The weeks he scores a touchdown.
But they would still be monster weeks even without the touchdowns. They would still be good weeks, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, like if he starts off slow, you know how the game's going to go for him. I mean, he got. There's only one game that he got above, or he hit double digits with only 10 or less targets, and he got 33 points off 7 receptions. So he missed my list just because I am. I think Keenan Allen is going to come back. I think he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think Keenan Allen, the fact that he has 1 touchdown on the year, I think that is for sure. Mike Williams has his fair share of touchdowns already. I think Keenan Allen just like gets into the workload some. And I mean, I was wrong last week, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong season long and saying Keenan Allen finishes above 1 touchdown the rest of the season. But I had him outside my top 12. Guess I couldn't put him up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I had him at 9. I think he still belongs in the top 12, but I mean, I guess I could kind of sway depending on the argument as well. You mentioned one of your honorable mentions already. Who are any more that you had? Obviously, I think the big name that we left off was DeAndre Hopkins. I had him at 11.
DeAndre Hopkins was my 12.
So we had him in the same kind of area.
Right. I think like his name alone warrants the discussion. And the fact that he puts up 20-point lead in such a crowded backfield, or such a crowded receiver core out there with AJ Green, Moore, and Christian Kirk, just insane. He's 13 on the season now. I feel like he'll finish around between 10 to 15 by the end of the season. And Arizona, they're not like a pass game. They're like top 8, top something like that this year as far as total pass yards. He's going to eat. Who better throw to DeAndre Hopkins, really?
Yeah, I mean, we are down on him, but he's still DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I think that's the crazy thing. It's like, I came on yesterday's show and it's like, you should trade DeAndre Hopkins, but I still have him at 11. So, like, it just shows, like, how
you might not want
it is. What was that?
I said you might not want him on your team, but, like, you have to know at the end of the season, he's going to finish where he's going to finish. And there's, like, on your team or not, he's going to win someone a week or two for sure.
Yeah. And, like, for some of these top guys to disappoint, like we mentioned, like Diggs had only one single-digit week, and he's been a disappointment. Like, for some of these guys to disappoint is different than, like, other people to disappoint. So,
yeah,
it's
a DeAndre Hopkins disappointment is way different than a Cortland Sutton disappointment, despite the fact that they're, like, so near each other in ranking right now.
Agreed.
Did you have anyone else? I had 3 people who I thought you were going to mention, and I'm glad you didn't.
I want to see. Okay, one of them. I had 2 guys that were in the discussion at 12. Deontay Johnson is one of them.
Oh, wow.
I just don't think the upside is there as much. And then Calvin Ridley, I think, is another one that's kind of an outsider. I don't think he was ever in contention for top 12, but definitely a strong wide receiver too.
I didn't even think about Deontay just because I guess it's because they're on bye this week. Just like not thinking like down a week, but then I was like, everyone's going to be down a week probably unless they already had their bye weeks.
Yeah. Who did you think that I was going to say?
Oh, I knew you were going to say Ridley, and I just did not like. I just couldn't put him inside the top 13, 14 here. I thought you were going to mention Mike Evans because I had him around 12. Like, he was someone who I was going to replace with someone else outside of it. But Mike Evans, Tom Brady's going for numbers this year. He's the number one guy over there right now. So
could put AB in there.
I thought about AB, but like they're right next to each other, and I said I think Mike Evans just has more of a touchdown potential.
Agreed.
Or red zone threat. So that's why Mike Evans was there and Antonio Brown wasn't. Calvin Ridley was outside, and so was Scary Terry.
I wasn't going to mention Terry.
I was hoping you would, because I just wanted to bash you for him. But I don't think those guys are going to finish as number 1 wide receivers in a 12-team league this year. Mike Evans could, potentially, but I don't think Calvin Ridley. I mean, Mike Evans is 14 right now. He has 4 touchdowns, less than some I mentioned, and they're not on the number 1 passing offense in the league, being Tampa Bay. So that's why I put him as like a 12 to 13 for me, depending on who. But Calvin Ridley, Scary Terry, both guys, I am not confident that they will be number 1s in the year.
I'm pretty sure, again, just to wrap this conversation up, bring it right back to where we started, that's just a vendetta against me because I have both of those guys. I don't think that Terry is going to be. I think he's made it pretty clear, like, he's a wide receiver too. I think he is a very good wide receiver too, but he's a wide receiver too. Ridley is kind of, we just haven't seen the upside yet. I'd agree that I don't think he's in the top 12 discussion at this point in time, but I think he still has the upside to make a move eventually. And it's not a guy that I would necessarily like count out of it. Like, I would put money that, and I hate to do it because I love Terry McLaurin, but like, I feel pretty confident saying Terry McLaurin is a wide receiver too. I do not feel confident or saying that Terry McLaurin won't be a wide receiver 1. I feel much less confident saying that Calvin Ridley won't be.
Right. I mean,
rest of the season.
Well, Calvin Ridley are playing against Miami this week, so obviously we had, especially next week, I felt like it would have been more skewed just because he would have had a great game and maybe would have been considered. But no, I don't think he's going to finish as a wide receiver. Terry has missed 20-something balls this year, just unreal amount of balls that he has not caught. So that's why I'm going to have him. He's 33, 3 touchdowns, 428 yards.
Cooper Kupp also hasn't caught 20 balls, has not dropped.
But Cooper Kupp, he's missed 22, but he's 68 targets, and Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp's Cooper Kupp. Scary Terry's called Scary Terry because it's scary to have him on your team.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you just said you're more confident to be a wide receiver.
Yeah, too. I think wide receiver 2 is fine.
I think wide receiver 2 is fine too, but we did wide receiver 1s.
Yeah.
Rest of the season, and that's why I put him out of there.
I'm very protective of my guys.
I know you are, but I think that's your downfall.
My God.
Brandon Cooks is better than you want to admit it.
We're just firing some daggers today. Today's show has gotten quite personal.
I think it's been a fun show for them and stuff. I think it's been hilarious for them.
There has been a lot of contention. A lot of contention. I'm just
very happy. I still love Kondo. There's no hard feelings against Kondo.
Seems like there is.
No,
it seems like there's some serious hard feelings. I don't know if there was hatred.
There's no hatred.
But hard feelings, I think, could be in the equation.
No. Jealous of oh no. I'm on your
Agree, Randon.
Consistency is key in fantasy football. Jamal W. is
RIP.
Coach loves Swift by a long shot. RIP Gravestone. That was from Rendon Dye. That was a comment from earlier. For those watching at home or listening in the podcast form.
Any comment on that?
Do you? All right, sure. Comment. I don't know what you want me to say.
You don't have to. I just asked.
Sure. DeAndre Swift is number 1. And he's wide receiver 7, and DeAndre Swift is running back 7, and DeAndre Swift is running back 25. There's obvious.
Did you say Jamal Williams is running back 7?
No, I said DeAndre Swift is running back 7. Jamal Williams is running back 25. Huge favorite. Probably the most discrepant favorite in the league, to be honest. Not Latavius Murray to Devontae Freeman or Tyson.
Okay, those guys are also gross, though.
So. Exactly. Not Corey Patterson being the backup, and he's number 10, and Davis being the starter, and he's ranked 34.
I'm not sure what we're talking about anymore. Derrick Henry is the number 1 draft pick next year.
No.
As of now.
No.
For sure.
Are you for real?
Yeah, who we put ahead of him?
I still think CMC, when healthy, he was putting up great numbers. I think the fact that he was injured obviously really hurt him. CMC put 27 and 24 the 2 weeks he was healthy. I think that just is worthy of it.
I'm going Derrick Henry just because we never seen him unhealthy. We haven't had to worry about that with him.
I'm with you. It's a conversation.
Claypool, Evans, Patterson, and Saquon for Kupp and Stafford.
No.
What? Definitely don't do that.
Oh my, that's rough, dude. That's a tough league.
Cody, you said no?
I said no. Why would you give up Saquon, Cordell Patterson, Chase Claypool, and that's Mike, not Chris Evans?
I've seen some crazier things in my time.
Probably you are 57.
Maybe in this week. Who knows? That is it for us today. We have a day off tomorrow. Maybe reconcile. Maybe Cody will apologize to me. and we'll be able to get on with this show like old times. Have fun here.
I thought this was actually a great episode.
But
fantastic.
Maybe he won't, and maybe we won't be back. So who knows? There's a lot up in the air. I don't want to leave too much of a cliffhanger for Thursday, but there's a chance that this could get better or could get worse. Could get a lot worse. We don't know what could happen.
Can't get much worse.
Only time will tell. And hopefully we'll see you back here on Thursday to break down Thursday night game. Nick Chubless Browns.
Wow.
The Chubless Browns.
Tough.
And see what's going to happen there. As always, appreciate you guys watching us. Appreciate all your support and questions. Thank you guys, and we will be back on Thursday.